Welcome everybody to our War of the Rosé webinar, the last of a very full day. My name is Julie and I'm French product manager for Boutinot International. And today I've got a very exciting panel to discuss the category of the last 4 to 5 years, rosé wine. So if we can go quickly around the very long table. So we've got Meg today. Hey, Meg.
Salut, so Meg, bonjour.
You're joining us for, well, kind of my other side of the globe. So where are you right now?
Yeah, so I'm Megan. Hello, everybody. I work with Boutinot International team, and I live in Canada. I am Canadian, and I manage the country of Canada. Big surprise. I'm on the very west coast in Vancouver in Canada. So I'm just finishing my coffee while you guys are getting into your aperitif and your rosé.
Fantastic. And then we've got, well, the three men as well. So we've got Julien, Eric, and Guillaume. Hey, guys.
Hello, Julie.
Bonjour. So also joining us from a very exotic part of the world.
So we are based in Tehran, yes.
Yeah.
Can you guys just give us a brief introduction to, because we're going to be discussing a lot about rosé today. Can you tell us what specific region of rosé you're looking after?
Hello, so I'm Guillaume, I'm French winemaker at Boutinot. I'm involved in the south part of France, so especially for Ethiopia rosé. So I am in charge on Pasquier blend and cat blend, for example. It's both wine that we will speak together after.
And me, I'm Julien, the Rhone winemaker. I'm based in Tehran, where Boutinot has the cellar. I am involved about les cerisiers, like you can see also the Fidel Arte range in my back, and about a new baby for Boutinot. Sorry, it's sur la côte. It's an EGP Méditerranée.
Fantastic. All right, guys. So for everybody who is tuning in today to learning more about rosé, thank you all for joining. You've got the Q&A on your left-hand side or right-hand side. I never know. So do not hesitate to pop any questions you may have. We might pick some on the way. Otherwise, we'll come back to you a little bit later. So before I dive into this fascinating discussion on rosé, I just thought it was a little bit useful just to go through why actually we've picked rosé today, because I think we can all agree in this webinar that rosé has been the category that has been completely revolutionized. Great to see so many innovations within our portfolio. I remember potentially even when I was going 5 years ago to a restaurant, you used to be able to pick from maybe 2 options on the wine list if you got lucky. Now you go to a restaurant and you can get a full page of different rosé options. So it's been amazing to see the growth of the category. From a business point of view for us this year has been actually the most successful as well. Because we're looking at 2 figures increase when we talk about volume growth in general. So rosé has just been the category for us. So now that we're going to talk about rosé, Eric, question for you actually. What's it been like, the rosé adventure for us? Where did it all started really?
In the period 2005, 6, 7, the quantity of rosé we were producing was still pretty small, and the style were limited to Syrah rosé, quite dark, quite deep, very aromatic, and nearly closer to a red wine than a rosé wine. We were already selling some Côte de Provence, that is, let's be clear, the flagship of rosé. We started to inquire on what were the practices in Provence, what were so special in the Provence rosé wines. And this is the beginning of our story. We came back in Tehran, it was 2008, and we started to say we are going to create a Rhone rosé with a Provence spirit. This baby. Basically, I'd like to say that at the time, the producer in the Rhone, they were producing white and red, mainly red. And they were extracting their rosé from what we call a rosé de saignée. So just pumping a bit of wine at the bottom of the tank that has been prepared for a red wine. So the rosé were small volume, dark color, and finally with an aromatic that was not as with as much finesse as we had in Provence. This is where the journey started. We made the first vintage 08, quite pale color, based on grapes from specific vineyard. And since that, it became a sort of reference for the following evolution of the rosé range that we have in Boutinot. Okay,
excellent. So clearly, so we're talking about more than 10 years ago, and now when we see the depth of the portfolio we have, we're talking Vin de France, we're talking IGP Hoc, Côte de Provence. I mean, I'm just, I can go on here and there. Meg, have you seen that sort of similar explosion within the rosé category in your market, which is always interesting to know, what's happening on the other side of the globe as well? What have you seen happening with rosé?
Yeah, it's it's exploding everywhere. If for those of you who don't know, most of you may, that Canada is run by provincial monopolies in most provinces. A handful of provinces have also a private retail channel, and of course there's the entree licensee restaurant businesses, and it's just exploding. I'll share with you two provinces. One everyone I think knows of, the LCBO in the province of Ontario, the monopoly. They're the last year, just we're talking COVID, so the last rolling 12. Rosé sales has boomed almost 30% growth in two of the channels in LCBO. That would be Vintages, which is sometimes a one-time buy, but Vintages has a retail channel that is regular, continuous buying. That was up almost 30% last year, and the general list in the LCBO was up 30% last year. In a province of BC, which is a mix of private channel and government monopoly, you look at the 10-year growth pattern of rosé sales, and we're talking sparkling and still, all categories of rosé around the world, including the local market, which we'll get to talking about a little later in the session. But it's been every year 10-20% growth at least year over year. And it's the fastest growing category in the retail channel in the province of BC, and actually in some other provinces it measures that as well. So it's massive. And just to talk on what Eric was saying about, the Provence style was the defining style, and that's no different from where people are seeking to look at, the salmon color, dry style of rosé, but there's such an array now. It's just a massive wall of, you look at one little shelf of rosé years ago, and now it's a huge section in every liquor store. It's a very important category, and every color under the sun. And everyone is making rosé. Everyone wants to make a rosé. So with that explosion in sales, that can lead to a bit of issue, because now we have, of course, producers, everyone and their dog is making a rosé. And so do we have the quality in each rosé? Probably not. The different styles are exciting. So it's not, so Provence is not the leading category anymore. It's a style. The category is just completely blown up. So we're seeing that right across Canada and, US as well, and most of the world, I guess.
No, because so with Provence, exactly. So what you just said, I think rosé/Provence has convinced the heart of so many people, because again, tell me if I'm wrong, but to me, rosé is really associated with the lifestyle as well. It has this whole feeling around the holidays, and I think people brought that. It's French Riviera as well. You've got some amazing properties that have done an amazing job on putting rosé on the map. And I was saying to the other day, the door is just not open anymore. The door has been completely knocked down. And now, so people are saying, well, actually, do you know what? I can make some really good rosé as well from, another appellation. So potentially the lifestyle, the style of the wine remains the same. But however, you can take this, you can as a winemaker, give your own interpretation of it. And I think that's what you guys have been trying to do within your different appellation. What was your take on rosé within the tools that you've got at hand as well? So we'll go to that a little bit later on, not to spoil anybody. So talking about rosé specifically, how did that, so for you winemakers, so potentially you, Julien, how did that craze around rosé materialize for you as a winemaker? How did you have to adapt to such, because in 5 years it's gone completely crazy. So what are the different things that you can do as a winemaker to work around rosé?
Thanks for this question, Julie. Yes, like you explained, rosé, it's a real color now in the wine. You have a white, rosé, and red. And the first adaptation, the first evolution of the winemaking, it's to have a specific date for harvest. In the past, the people pick just a quick remember, we make the rosé with a red grape, of course. In the past, the people pick in the same time for the red grape for make red and rosé. Today, the winemaker has organized a specific harvest for the rosé. They focus on the acidity and the balance level in the wine. And for me now, you have 3 times for the harvest: white, rosé, and red. Also, a second thing in the evolution for the winemaking, it's the evolution of the technical evolution in the cellar with the rosé. Just a quick example: when I start the job, there is not so long time, but when I start the job, we beginning to chili the rosé with a cold water, and it was only 7 degrees. Today, when you arrive in the nice cellar to chili the rosé, you have the water less 7 degrees. It's nothing like that, but imagine the time that you earn to make a rosé, because more you chili your wine, more you keep the freshness, more you have a light color, more you keep the aromatic, and this it's a huge impact for the rosé. The second thing also, the second real evolution is with the press. Like you can know now, 89% of the rosé it's made with a direct press, and the evolution of the press until 20 years it's completely huge. Now you have a press without air. You can add a carbonic inside. You have the press with a cooling system also inside. This it's a big evolution. Also, a last thing, it's because we pick the rosé during the night or early in the morning to pick the grape very fresh, because you have less oxidation, protect the aromatic. It's the evolution of the harvest machine, to be honest with you. Also, 90% of the rosé it's picked by machine, by night. You can do that by hand. And the evolution of the harvest machine is also important, because the harvest machine now respect more the berry, don't explode less the berry. And when you have the berry more whole, you have less oxidation, and it's better to make the rosé and have a light color. Because more you crush the grape, more you're beginning to extract the color and tannin. And this is very important now for staying in the Provence style, because for me it's a Provence style, a rosé with a light color. But in the Rhône, to speak a little bit by the Rhône, we try to have a Rhône identity in our wine. We have the same varieties than the Provence, but I try to have a proper style, a Boutinot style, but also a Rhône style. We are a little bit more, maybe more pink than a Provence rosé, but for me it's the right balance with the aromatic and the color, because more you are clear, less you have aromatic. You need to find the balance with your terroir, the acidity, the aromatic, and that you're looking for also in the bottle.
So more diversity, like you just said. So loads of just way more care into the quality that's going, you know, talking about all these tools and all these. So yeah, we just lost Meg. I think she'll come back to us in a bit. Yeah, so like you said, so just more care, and yeah, just controlling the temperature, but always maintaining that same style. This very light, and you keep talking about acidity. So I'm thinking this is pretty much constant theme when you guys are trying to make some wine. Guillaume, that's or Eric, it's potentially something we can dive into a bit more detail. You're talking a lot about acidity in the rosé. So if I was to take Pasquier, for example, so the Pasquier wine, which I think is the pinnacle of Boutinot rosé IGPO, can you just tell us a little bit more what you're doing to get that style right with this wine?
Yeah, of course. For rosé, color, acidity, and aroma is three key words, I would say. On Pasquier blend, which is one of the best seller of rosé in terms of style. On this blend, as Julien said, we take care very carefully about the date of the harvest because acidity is a key parameter. If you want a beautiful spine in your rosé, you do need acidity. Acidity is a support of aroma in terms of freshness. A good acidity means a low pH. pH is a chemical footprint, I would say, in the wine. And if you have a small pH, you have a beautiful color because the color is more blue, pinky than orange. So it's very important. And the point to have a good rosé is to find a good mouth watering. So you do need a good acidity. So just to keep going on Pasquier blend, it is a blend of Grenache Cinsault or rosé from the south of France. So IGPO. We play with Grenache and Cinsault. So Grenache for the roundness, for the aroma, and Cinsault for the spiciness. So for me, it's one of the best variety for rosé, Grenache and Cinsault. Syrah was rosé with Syrah. It's deeper in color, so not necessarily the style that people are looking for at the moment. Maybe we'll come back on this deeper style later. We will see. So Grenache Cinsault rosé, it's a real, for me, a food rosé. It's good for aperitif or by the glass like this, but for me, it's the perfect rosé for a restaurant because we are working on the. It's not explosive in terms of aroma. We are more on the fineness. That's why it's more food rosé for me. That's it. Yeah.
But if I have to summarize, there's two mousquetaires that are with me. The picking date.
I can speak about
the picking date is really the key thing. And now we have period to pick the rosé, and the pH, the acidity is, you would be surprised. All the winemakers speak about pH, because this one is the one that's going to help the final result. It's a bit technical, but that's the reality.
So actually, we've got you, Enrique, and I think it would be nice to jump from what you're saying to then, well, actually, Meg, and you can introduce quite an exciting project that has been happening at Boutinot, Project B. First time I'm actually seeing the bottle shop, like probably a lot of people are there. I want to know more. What is that about?
Nobody's seen this bottle yet because it's actually so new. It's not in bottle yet. So, so we began, well, I'll go back a little bit historically, like Guillaume and Samantha and Julien and Eric traveling different parts of the world for many years, partnering with fantastic wineries and winemakers in various New World countries outside of France. We've done the same thing in Canada. So we started talking about it years ago, but then it takes a while, like everything, to get to fruition. And last year we launched Project B Sauvignon Blanc. Meeting and tasting and traveling through BC's Okanagan Valley was really exciting with Eric. We met and connected with a fantastic winemaker there that's so seasoned and such a special person. He knows every piece of dirt and geology through the whole valley. So Michael Bartier of Bartier Brothers, his own winery, is our partner in the Okanagan. Now, Canada has a number of different winemaking regions. In Ontario, the Niagara Peninsula, there's actually several different winemaking regions in Ontario. Nova Scotia makes wine. I now understand that Quebec is actually has some vines that reach some potential ripeness in the very cold growing season, short growing season, I should say. But Project B Rosé is the second wine to what we're doing, and it's not bottling till the middle of April. Our Gamay, part of the blend, is just taking its sweet time and getting to finishing fermentation. So we've happily let it do its thing. But this will be a blend of Pinot Noir, Pinotage, and Gamay. We totally trust Michael Bartier with his resources and working with different vineyards and different growers in the region. Eric has been in touch with him. Eric and Guillaume, you guys, gosh, it's been a lot of conversations over Zoom and with COVID, of course, not being able to travel, but a lot of meetings around exactly what you're talking about, when to pick being the most important, where the pH is. You know, we have no trouble getting to acid in Canada. So it's really about balancing what kind of style wine we were looking to do. And, you know, with Provence being a defining style of Boutinot wine growth and the wine category of rosé for consumers, we wanted to make a dry, lighter pink color, salmon pink color rosé. But, you know, in the Okanagan in BC, it's just interesting to hear how France began in the south, and where appellations like Tavel or the Rhone, and where color was darker historically and higher sugar levels. And I would say that's very similar and reminiscent of how the BC wine region started with making rosé. Now, some of the larger brands still make darker, higher sugar level rosés. And like we talked about, there's such a vast array of styles now. But I think if the consumer, by any stretch, if we can look at what they're buying and what they're looking to get excited about, it is that Provence style rosé. Those are the wines that seem to be selling a lot out of the Okanagan. So we're trying to make a French style wine in a Boutinot way, but very much relying on the fruit and the styles of Bartier and the Okanagan Valley with this wine. So it's exciting. You guys in France have gotten lots of tank samples over the last few months just to try blending from BC over to France and back again. So it's a different way to make wine, but it's working. So Eric, what do you want to add to that about this project we're doing?
Project B has been an exciting challenge for us. On the Sauvignon, it has been easy, because we went there and we part with Michael Bartier. On the Rosé, with Guillaume, with the support of Julien, we had to do everything with the screen as per today, which was a bit strange. If I had to tell quickly the story, we sent Michael a range of wines, rosé wines only, and he did the same from Okanagan Valley, and we both tasted. And from the French team, we said, listen, Michael, this is what we don't want, this is what we don't expect, and this is probably where we should try to play. Then Michael tasting the French wines was a nice way for us to show him what we wanted to achieve, with all respect of the Okanagan Valley. So basic rules were, we want that target of pH, again, pH acidity, and the second rule was, we don't want a drop of sugar, we want a dry wine. Now, what are the grapes you can identify in your vineyard? What are the vineyard that could be picked to target a rosé, bearing in mind that the third parameter, we are a bit technical today, is being below 13% of alcohol, ideally 12.5. It has been achieved. We've been speaking with Michael quite often. We've been receiving analysis quite often. And over the past month, we've been receiving samples from Okanagan that we've tasted with Michael live, that we've blended with Michael. So we are missing the reality of the winery. We are missing the tasting of the wines in the different tanks. But today we are not far to put together a blend that hopefully will be Canadian wine with a slice of French touch from the Three Musketeers we are today.
Yeah, and that's, I just want to pick up something that Julien said earlier, what Eric just alluded to with some of the technology behind it. You know, we're a young wine region, not too young, but young compared to some French wine regions. But you know, 40 years ago, there was vinifera planted in the Okanagan, and now it's mostly international varietals. It takes a while for an industry to shift, especially a small wine region. And you know, even though there is everyone's making rosé out of the Okanagan, and there's such a large array of sugar and color, you know, with growth in the category and with a lot of change and dedication has started to what Julien said earlier about the south of France and Rhone. You know, there are vineyards now that are dedicated planted vineyards for rosé specifically. And that was not the case years ago in probably most regions that are producing rosé. I think everyone's recognized that there needs to be a rosé picking time, a white and a red. And that's certainly the case in BC's Okanagan. There's been a real shift to investment as well. So technology that will allow cooling systems in the winery, which completely changes the style of a wine and how it's made. And that, you know, eventually leads to the quality. So, you know, with, I think with consumers, they don't really understand, or maybe not necessarily even care about production methods. But if we continue to make really good rosé, the category should remain very strong and it should grow still, even though some people argue that have we reached a peak? Has it seen its light of day and now but I don't know. I don't know. Certainly with the DOC Prosecco Rosé coming alive this year, we're going to see an upswing of rosé sales even more in markets. But I think if we still make really great rosé that is a style that's approachable, lighter in alcohol, certainly the trend that everyone is seeing happen in whites as well and reds as well. I think the category is still going to be very strong.
And I think Guillaume was mentioning the other day actually. So there is completely a boom for rosé, but also slightly now evolving towards the lighter reds as well. So I think people are flirting with both of the categories at the minute. Just very briefly, what should we expect tasting wise from this wine? Because never tasted from that region. What is it gonna show, Eric, in terms of tasting profile?
Oh, that's a hard question. The Pinotage is bringing a bit of spiciness to the blend. The Pinot Noir gives definitely a lot of finesse on the Gamay that is still fermenting, but we are going to finish it. It is bringing some fruit in the blend. So the balance of the three should be pretty aromatic, with finally this famous acidity that we've managed to keep. But that was quite easy being in Canada.
Amazing. So we talked about this amazing new project, and I think Julien, you've got something else to show today, and actually I've got a bottle with me as well.
Yeah.
Another brand new. We've been on it this year when it comes to rosé. Well, tell us, because this is also like brand new. Yeah. So what's the story behind Sur la Côte?
Sur la Côte, we start to make an IGP Méditerranée rosé. IGP is not, it's a young appellation. It's an appellation in Vin de Pays, like we call that in France. this CGP, the area touch the Mediterranean Sea and finish until the Rhone Valley, in the middle of the south of Rhone Valley. It's a large appellation, but the link of this appellation, it's the influence, we say that, influence in English, of the Mediterranean climate, and also the similarity with the variety. The Grenache is the main variety in this area. After you find again the Cinsault, the Syrah, and for that we create this appellation. I think the typicity of the wine is good. You test the Mediterranean climate impact in this bottle. I make a blend Grenache Syrah. You can see it's a Provence style, but it's you need to test it. No, you need to test it. I cannot compare and say it's better than this one, it's better than another one. It's the wine has this typicity. I love it like that. Of course, you have a nice balance with the freshness, like I explained you. I do very care to the acidity and the aromatic in this wine, and also style in the Provence color. I hope really you will enjoy this new appellation and this new cuvée for Boutinot.
So, what method have you been using on this rosé? Because we've been talking about how rosé in general, but what have you got, guys? A specific method that you want to use because you think it gets the best of the rosé, or do you just go? It pretty much depend on depending on the style you want to make.
Rosé, I think it's to finish a little bit. It's maybe the wine with the fashion wave and involve more the color and the style. When you are a winemaker, of course, you need to be close to this wave, but also give your personal touch to the wine to make the difference, to find the specific aromatic. Because we don't want that every rosé will be similar. It's for that the winemaking and the technical influence it's important in this wine. Maybe more than another wine like the red.
And which is interesting with rosé now, with the new methods, with the new winemaking process, you can play with the date of the harvest. And which is important now is that we can claim that we are able to have a huge palette of rosé from aroma, from color, and we are able now to find out plenty of diversity in different rosé.
Yeah, because
the final job being the blend, Julie. We come back to the magic of these winemakers putting together the Grenache, the Cinsault, the Syrah. Which is the last step to achieve the results.
No, because I think today we actually in front of you've got different palettes of different wine. You've got a Vin de France, I think. You also have a Côte de Taux. So, like you said, but is it actually more difficult to have? So the style, but then you have to make it in. You've got 5 or 6 different regions to play. So for example, I think Guillaume today you've got Petit Chat. We've actually tasted that downstairs and thought the 2020 vintage was utterly mind-blowing. Loads of strawberry notes coming from it. I urge everybody on this chat today to get a sample. And exactly like you said, the first thing that was there is that refreshing acidity. Is it actually harder to maintain a constant style but have to play with different region?
As you say, this blend is a good example of the fact that we are able to bring a lot of diversity, and all of this small diversity bring a product with a strong personality. So for this blend, Charosé, 3 years ago we moved as Vin de France, this wine, just for one thing. to keep the flexibility in our sourcing, in our choice of plot, in order to create a blend with a perfect balance. That's why we move as Vin de France. A big part of this blend is EGP or declassify. We play with different region, different plot, different grape variety, in order to have something what we want to achieve in terms of acidity, in color. It's always a challenge every year to keep the consistency of the product and to craft a good value for money, because it is our entry level, I would say, in rosé, and the game and the challenge is to be as good as an EGP or another wine, and something with personality.
Fabulous. So I've got a quick question for you, Meg, because you touched base on it earlier, and I think that was super interesting when you said, well, is rosé reaching a peak? And I think when we talked about it all together, we said, well, we probably think it's the end of the beginning in a sense, because again, the door is now open. Everybody is just coming in and want to get their own interpretation on rosé. You mentioned, so you will go to Canada and you will see all this diversity on the shelf. Do you see rosé evolving to a certain direction in particular for your markets? Do you think at some point we'll go back to, actually the old classics? You look at the dark, we talked about Tavel at some point.
Yeah, well, I don't have a crystal ball, but, you think of the gastronomic aspect of it too in restaurants and on trade and pairing with food. I think that's where you have to look to our leaders in the restaurant industry that have actually taken this category to another height with food pairing. Last year not being considered in that, but certainly we're on that trajectory. I don't know. I do believe it's going to continue to grow. Keep in mind, like when I talk about Canada, we're a little chilly most of the year in the winter. There's a lot of snow on the ground in most provinces, and it's not what you would think to be sitting on a patio sipping the rosé. However, that's been the trend that we can see, and this is where sometimes people compare Canada and the US a little too closely. A lot of times we're very similar sometimes in some of the wine growth and the different category strengths, but couldn't be different countries in the way that, well, I won't get into the political part of that, but just in terms of climate. So we don't really have, aside from the very tip of the West Coast where I am, where you could see somebody in the middle of February on a patio drinking rosé outside. It's a cold climate all winter for 6 months of the year, but we are starting to see rosé in the last few years hold on to the winter months, nowhere near like the June, July, August, September sales, of course, because when summer hits and the sun comes out here, we're out there drinking rosé, embracing every day of sunshine and vitamin D we can get, but it's starting to take through the winter months. And you'll see that on restaurant lists where you talked about in the beginning, years ago, there was one rosé option, and now there's a whole selection of different rosés from around the world in different styles. And in the winter, that's continuing in Canada on menus, and the love of a lighter style of wine, period, whether it's red or white or rosé. I think because people are tracking a little more towards lighter styles, rosé is a perfect fit. And that would mean drier rosé and the dry style. So that Provence defining style definitely is something that I don't see, going anywhere. But it's interesting to see how much selection there is out there and the wide array.
And I think talking about rosé was this whole idea around seasonality. I've touched base upon. It's the holiday wine. You close your eyes. Rosé has managed to give you that sense of travel. You close your eyes. I'm having a bottle of rosé. I'm at the beach with my friends, hopefully at some point in the future. But I think this is what Rosé has done so well, is now they've done that part, which is, we've done our part as well, making rosé more mainstream in a sense. So now it's a wine that can be enjoyed with several occasions. And actually, so the cerisier, I think that Julien, you can maybe tell us a little bit more. The cerisier Côte du Rhône, for example, was always that wine where we could see pallets. We were selling the wine potentially just at the build-up over the summer, depending on the hemisphere. Now it's constant. We sell that wine 10 months in a year. It used to be classified as a gastronomical rosé. And now it's people just, we having wine, rosé wine in February or January, whether it's cold or everything. So that shift is, to me, what is going to take rosé to another level. So, for example, Julien, talking about your cerisier and that style that's now ticking all the boxes, why do you think people are really buying into this style now for every occasion?
Yeah, there is few years the rosé was like you explained, Julie, only a spring and summer wine. Maybe the people think about a holiday when they drink a rosé, and now because the people want holiday every day, they drink a rosé every day. No, to be more serious, the rosé it's a real color, like I explained in the beginning, and the people like the finesse, the elegance, the fruit and the balance in this wine. It's more easy to drink a glass of rosé than red often, because you have less tannin. It's more easy to drink, different than the white also for the aromatic. And for that, I think the rosé arrived to find a right place in the wine. And now the people drink a rosé every day, not every day, but every moment. There is not a seasonal wine, because you're beginning to have a shift, organize a food, especially with a rosé association. Sorry. And also for the aperitif, it's the right companion to drink a glass before start the meal.
I'd like to add one thing, Julie. When we think about it, rosé was definitely the summer drink. Now it's not only the summer drink. There's a peak during the summer, but like there is a peak of big red wines or oaky white wines during the winter. So there are periods for every wine. One of the things that I'd like to notice on rosé is that we never speak about, or nearly never, about rosé with tannins or rosé with oak. People expect to have a fresh rosé, to have something refreshing, to have something that is fruity, and it makes the choice easier for customers. Then finally, we realize that this color is an official third color, as it has been perfectly explained. And I think that it's not anymore a trend. It starts to be the official third wine in the family.
And it's getting a real serious product in comparison with 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Rosé was not a serious wine for people. And now, as we said, we are able to find plenty of different styles, huge diversity, and it's a serious product.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks for thanks for that. It's just the only thing I want to do now is just to crack at that bottle of Sur la Côte, but I'll do that when I'm home after this day of discovery and webinars. I think something that's been really highlighted throughout this webinar is we were there when it all started with our own take on rosé. We are here now trying to make wine that we think are the best expression of your expertise as well, because it's still important that we remain true to the Boutinot staple: quality, acidity, fruitiness. Try to make the best rosé that we can possibly make, and we'll probably also be there in the future. So hopefully we'll have some more exciting rosé to show you in the future. So what potentially, Guillaume, you'll bring us some exciting rosé from Chile, who knows? Or I don't know, Argentina. Do you think? Have you got well, Eric, you've done Canada, but have you got some like dreamy countries where you think rosé could at some point where you could deliver some exciting rosé?
I think we still have a lot of work to do in south of France.
Thank you, Guillaume.
We can make rosé in Chile tomorrow, Julie, but there's a timing that is less interesting.
Yeah.
We would pick the grapes now for the coming summer. That starts, let's say, in a couple of weeks in terms of sun. So the timing zone is not perfect. So let's make rosé in the good hemisphere. So France or Northern Europe would cover Northern Europe, and New World would cover South Hemisphere, I think, because customers expect fresh, young rosé. We don't keep the bottle in the cellar to drink them later.
And I think it's, yeah.
One point, excuse me, Julie, one point we didn't speak around is the date of the bottling of rosé. It's very important to catch the fruit very early for rosé. So we try to bottle a big part of our range rosé very early in at the end of the winter, early spring, to be at the optimum of the expression of the fruit and the acidity.
That's why we have all the wines already bottled on the table.
Well, exactly. So I think, like you said, so we've been really diverse. We kept a consistent style. We've been extremely flexible when it comes to winemaking, taking more, like we said, so like winemaking techniques on board. And I think that's a very nice note to finish on today, just to say basically the world is our oyster. That's an expression that I really like. But I think, yeah, it's just we'll take on potentially in 5 years, we'll have also a full list of rosé to offer to our customers. It's been already an exciting development, and we hope that we've got more to offer in the next year or so. So if you haven't got anything to add today, I think we're going to say goodbye to each other, although it's been very enjoyable.
If there's no question, we leave you to crack a bottle of rosé.
Yes.
Well, I think that it's just amazing just to hear about just these few wines that we've selected today, because that only touches the tip of the iceberg of what Boutinot is producing. So if anyone on the call or on the webinar, any customers to take the sample order of an array of all of our rosés and actually have a real study of the different appellations and the countries and the regions that we're making and the different styles that we have, it's pretty incredible, I think. So yeah, it's a snippet of what we do in this massive new category, new-ish.
Yeah. All right, guys.
A glass of rosé now.
Yes, I think it's the time.
I mean, not for Meg, possibly, because I think it's still a bit early for you, isn't it?
another coffee. Maybe I'll spike my coffee, so that won't be the first time.
The real war of rosé will start now, because Guillaume will fight against Julien. Who's going to have the best rosé? I'll tell you tomorrow morning.
Well, I think, yeah, we can agree who won the war today is all of you guys. Yeah, hopefully we can have another one soon. Well, thank you for everybody who has tuned in. If you've got any questions, do not hesitate to pop them on the Q&A, or we'll come back to you a little bit later. So yeah, thank you everyone, and I'll see you later.
Merci.
Bye bye.
Merci.
Merci.
Bye. Merci.